Welcome back to another episode of Richie on the Rocks. Today we have with us Mr. Travis Wise from Denim, developing and empowering new images of men. Boom. Did I get it right?
Got it right.
I got it right.
Yep.
All right, so it says here your mission is to engage, educate, empower members of the gay community, particularly young gay men of color. So is this is operated by Us Helping Us, correct?
Yes. It's the kind of like the ugly stepchild of Us Helping Us in a sense. They treat us like that sometimes.
So how did you become involved with it?
I started off as a volunteer.
You did?
I came in as a volunteer
Worked up the ranks.
and worked up the ranks. I was
Really?
a volunteer for a couple months. Then they had a part-time position available, and I took that, and I was there for another maybe like 6 months, and then the director of programs called me and said, hey, the manager's leaving, and we've seen your work, and we were thinking about bringing you on board. What do you think?
Were you the overachieving volunteer?
Yes.
Okay, you were there.
I was the one that
was-
everyone hated.
He was the one that was the head of the class, raising his hand all the time, asking a bunch of questions.
That was me, yes.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you get ahead in life. So why did you become involved? Like, what made you want to volunteer?
You know, so it started like maybe about 10 years ago. I have a best friend in Baltimore. He now works at the Baltimore Health Department.
Is that where you grew up?
Yes,
Okay.
Baltimore, Maryland. So
How'd you
he,
like
it was pleasant.
It was pleasant.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm glad to be in DC though.
Okay, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Nothing against Baltimore. But I don't think we show there, so it's fine.
Yep, don't do that. But so it started about 10 years ago. He had always been, into activism, HIV prevention work. So he would always say, hey, I'm going to pass out some flyers at the club. You should come with me. And I'd be like, okay. And, just going on there, hanging with him. He's my best friend. So, we made it fun. And then I started to really listen to what he was doing and the missions and the initiatives behind the work that he was doing. And it really started to captivate me that, this is a guy who's from Baltimore, and he's actually doing stuff to better the community. So that's what it started. And just when I actually moved to DC, I was always looking for like that outlet. I had a full-time job being a manager at MedStar Health. And then the opportunity, came. A friend was like, hey, there's this group called Denim. They're having they actually had a speed dating event. And he was like,
Really?
hey, yeah, they had a speed dating event, and I came through and I never left.
Really? Was it because of the speed dating?
Well. The idea of
Was it
finding
successful?
someone it was very successful.
Really?
It was very
Really?
successful, actually. Yes, it was very successful. Let's just say that it was a wonderful event. It was a wonderful
All right.
event. Yeah.
So, being from Baltimore and then getting involved with Denim, what is your role now in the organization? Like, what do you do? Because I know personally that you do a lot with the organization. But
Yeah.
tell the people what you do.
Well, I do a little everything.
Really?
I promise you, between timesheets to taking out the trash, I do everything in between. But my title is a manager of young adult services.
Okay.
So pretty much anything that involves young black gay men or youth between the ages of 18 and 29 is pretty much under my umbrella. So that goes from coordinating HIV testing, referring them to counseling for behavioral health, and even enrolling them in support groups. We are, and I want to do a little shameless plug, we are the only group in Washington, D.C. that does what we do. And when you go to, and I've been in this work for about 2 or 3 years now, and when I've traveled to other cities and gone to some of these conferences on prevention and similar work, we're always the only black gay organization in Washington D.C. doing what we do. So it's really important, that I mentioned that part. We have a HIV positive support group, which is the only one in Washington, D.C. that's really providing supportive services for young black gay men who are living with HIV. And, I enjoy the work. I love that, I am from the community, and that's what makes it a lot different. A lot of times, as some organizations, you have individuals who don't necessarily look like the population who's running things and who are in control, whereas though I have the opportunity to be someone who comes from that community. I understand the ballroom community. I understand individuals who are going to school, understand the working class, understand the gamers. So it's a multi-pronged and a multifaceted community with different subgroups and divisions, and we are able to provide something for everybody.
Why is it that why do you think it is that you're the only group that's pretty much kind of serving the African American community? Like, why that seems
Why?
odd to me to be in
Yeah.
DC, that's the only group that's doing exactly what you're doing.
I will say that other groups have come before us.
Right.
But with the type of work that we do, a lot of our funding is supported through the local health department and the CDC.
Okay.
And as the landscape for prevention work changes, so does the funding.
Right.
So a lot of other organizations have closed their doors, and luckily, the organization, the parent company, Us Helping Us, has been around for about 26 years now.
Right.
And there are a lot of other organizations who really can't say that. But I really don't know. I really don't know why other groups haven't, came together to really say, let's figure out how we can, engage our community in a way that's effective, and really put these resources out there. I'll take it a step further and say that it may have something to do with the community as a whole. If anyone who knows me knows, I'm really big outside of issues that pertain to LGBT youth. I'm really big on the African American community as a whole. So I think that it may stem from the black community not really understanding what leadership means and what it means to step up and what it means to really put themselves out there and be a catalyst for change.
Right.
And take on those challenges and try to get over whatever those challenges are.
So let's talk a little bit more about that, because this is a topic I'm really, really interested in.
Okay.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think that there aren't more of us that are leaders? Is it something that we're not being taught in schools? And how do you teach that? How do you foster an environment where we can grow up to become leaders? How do you do that?
Well, I think it starts at home. It starts at a very young age. I come from a family that was a one-parent household. My mom raised us, but luckily I had a grandfather who was there for me and really showed me what it meant to be a man and what it meant to provide for yourself and take care of yourself and family, and serve a God. And I don't know, what the religious background's okay, but and he really taught me those things and instilled those things in me. But that was my fortunate. I was fortunate to have that. Other folks aren't. Right. And I think that it really goes back to the home. When you talk about the African American community, that we're still dealing with the ramifications of slavery. We're still dealing with institutional slavery, which is something that is harder to identify. Right. A lot of people don't understand why the system is set up the way that it is, and it's for a purpose. And a lot of times when you have an educational system that really isn't giving individuals or offering individuals the opportunity to really succeed, when you have a household that is limited or even lacking a father figure, it becomes hard. There aren't a lot of people who can really set an example. You set an example. You are a young man who's doing what you're doing, showing people that this can be done, and I'm doing it on my own. Of course, you have a team and people to support you, but in our community, we don't have a lot of people who do that. And a part of that institutionalized slavery mindset is music. And I love music. I love hip hop. I love R&B, but the music that that's feeding this culture is glorifying over-sexualization of women. It's glorifying the thug mentality, and the drug dealing mentality. And if that, coupled with lack of education, coupled with not having a strong male figure to really show you what responsibility means, what providing for your family means, it takes the whole community down. And what we at Denham do, we're trying to empower the community of Black gay men. Mm. But my personal mission, even after this work is done with Denham and the LGBT community, I plan to figure out what can I do and how can I lend my voice and my expertise to the overall community.
How do you want to change that? Like what's your, do you have a plan? Like in your head right now, like what are you thinking about that?
I have a plan, but I can't
You
share
can't
it.
share it. Okay.
I have a
We
plan.
can't get the details.
I do have a plan, but I can't share it. But what I will say is that I have a group of friends. There's about 15 to 30 of us. We understand that we must do this for ourselves.
Right.
You know, for so long, community members have waited for government to give them a handout, or for government to give them funds, or for someone else to give them the validation to do what they know is necessary.
Right.
I have a group of folks who are behind me and behind the initiatives and my mission, who are saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do it for ourselves. And we're not going to wait. You know, the time is now. We're living in a place, in a community, and in a society where it's okay to be gay. You know, the issue of being transgender is okay now. You know, it's still some stigma behind it, but it's being pushed to the forefront. And all these things, we have an African American president. You know, the world is shifting. It's shifting in a different direction. We have some folks, Republican folks, who may still, you know, want to hold on to those traditional American values, whatever that means. But the society is shifting, and it's time that we as a people step up to the plate and say, it's time, and enough is enough.
How does, this is totally deviating, but I want to talk about this because I feel like it's important. How does one develop their personal mission? Like, how does one determine what it is that they're supposed to do? Because I feel like that's really, really important for not only us as Black men, but I think just as the community at large. I know so many people personally who feel like they don't know what their mission is. How do you, or we as in general, develop that? Like, how do we like pinpoint it and then nurture it? What are your thoughts on that? Like, I just,
No.
It just kind of popped up in my head as we were talking.
Let's do it. You know, it's a little cheesy, but I'm gonna take a quote from Sister Act. You know, Whoopi Goldberg said, "If you wake up in the morning and you want to sing, you should be a singer, girl." You know.
Okay.
And it's like that. You know, you have to really take that time to really meditate with yourself and to think to yourself, you know, what is it that one makes me happy?
Right.
Because your job isn't necessarily going to make you happy. No. You know, you got to start thinking about what makes you happy, and then home in on that. Some people will be, you know, 100% happy with cutting grass every day, being a trash man. You know, that's what makes them happy. But you know, it really takes a person to really take some time to do some self-identifying. You know, to really see what your passion is. And it's different for everyone. You know, my passion is really for community work, you know, and I'm very, very blessed to be able to do the work that I do with as much liberty as I have. But, you know, it really takes for you to just sit inside yourself and listen to your inner voice. Right. You know, listen to your conscience, and your conscience is going to tell you what it is that you should do. What you have to do is really create that space to walk in it, right. You know, and that's what's most important. A lot of people have dreams and aspirations, but, you know, your dreams and your aspirations are kind of hard. You know, it's easy to get a job at Target and you know, make whatever the minimum is to get by. Right. But when you say to yourself, you know, I want to be a singer, I want to be an activist, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, once you own that, you're going to take whatever steps are necessary to get to that point. And that's what you know, at the end of the day, what the work that we do at Denim is really about, you know, activating the passions in people, and no matter what it is, right. And giving them the tools and the resources and empowering them to do it.
So tell us a little bit more about some of the activities that you guys host, like Brother to Brother or Bonfire. Like, what types of outreach or activities are going on right now that people can, you know, kind of become involved in, or at least need to know about?
Yeah. So
Or your favorites?
Well, my favorites. I'll get to my
I saw
favorite.
Happy Hour on the list. I was like,
Well, we like to have a good time
Right.
for those in that age range who
Right.
can. So the program offers a host of different options for folks. And what we really try is to find a balance or a good marry between health indicators and more of the clinical setting. We encourage people to get tested. We encourage people to stay active in their health care, see their doctor regularly. We encourage folks who may have issues that they can't deal with alone to speak to a behavioral health therapist or a mental health therapist. So we push those initiatives. We want people to be active in their health. But we also know that as a community of black gay men, and as a community of black people, we need to get to a point where we're establishing safe spaces to build brotherhood and community. So one of the more fun activities for me is Brother to Brother. Brother to Brother is a support group for black gay youth where they come and kind of talk about issues that are plaguing them, whether it's how do I speak to my mom about coming out? Right. How do I deal with at work, everyone treats me X, Y, Z. Right. And it really gives young folks the opportunity to really talk about the issues that are plaguing them and then give it to other folks in the room and kind of give some of that feedback that sometimes you only can get when you're in a safe space and around folks who you're comfortable with. That's just one of them. But we have a host of other things. We have one called Illuminations, which is a one-time discussion around sexual health. Gotcha. We talk about relationships. We talk about love, which we know in the black community can be quite elusive. Right. In the LGBT black community can be very elusive trying to find love. So that one is a pretty big one, and we do that one once a month. And then some of the other fun ones, we do a happy hour every now and again. We get the folks together with a little libation and, enjoy ourselves. But for those who are interested, you can find us at the Denim Collection on Facebook or the Denim Collection at Instagram. And we're always talking about some of the stuff and some of the initiatives that we have coming up.
Okay, awesome. Well, we've gotten some good information thus far with Mr. Travis Wise. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
Welcome back to another episode of Richie on the Rocks. We are here with Mr. Travis Wise from Denim. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So before we talked a little bit about, your background with Denim, a little bit about the African American community, I want to know, for you, what do you think are the most prevalent issues for, well, I want to say gay men of color, but I want to say African American men in general?
The biggest issue?
Yeah, what are the biggest issues?
If we're going to say African American men in general, I'm going to say education.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm going to say education. I think that we are a community that don't know our own history. We're a community that don't know where we came from. I personally could maybe only go back to maybe my grandmother, great-grandmother, and after that, no one knows, Right. And I think there are a lot of other communities who can say the same, whereas though you talk to a Jewish or Irish individual, they can, from the old country, whatever that means. Yeah. But we are a community that lacks identity. We live in a country that isn't a home for us. Yeah. We're kind of like we're just here, but we can't really identify with the culture that was before us coming here. And then again, I'm in really into civil rights and equality, and I'm going to always talk about what the environment that really has been put forth in reference to the system and the incarceration of black men, the inequalities of the educational systems in predominantly African American communities, the lack of even food inequality. There are a lot of places here in Washington, D.C. that are considered food deserts where you can't get fresh foods and fresh groceries. There's a systematic problem, when it comes to folks of color. And that's that. But if we want to switch it a little and talk about the LGBT community and black men of color, I want to say that one of the more pressing issues for that community is probably homelessness and then mental health. There's a lot of trauma that comes with being a black man and then being a black gay man. There's a lot of trauma that comes with that, and a lot of folks have issues that they really don't understand, that they've never perhaps unpacked. And I think that, I encourage all of my friends, to go speak to someone, to talk to someone, because there may be issues that you're living with that you don't really understand.
Have you done that?
I have.
How was it for you? I've done it as well. So, I understand what it's like, and I feel like everybody should do it like at least once every 5 years. But like, what was your take on it?
I think it's therapeutic. Sometimes we get, especially me, we get so bogged down with our own work and friends and appointments and deadlines that we, we never really take time to self-reflect or really put energy into trying to heal ourselves. So sometimes it's really important for you to speak to someone else and just to vent. And sometimes it's just that, just someone you can just put it all out there to. A lot of times in this community, and you I'm sure can speak to this as well, that, this is a superficial community. It's really all about how you dress, how you look, who you know, the car you drive, and never really about the person and what's really going on with the person. So I say, mental health is definitely an issue that does plague young African American men of color who are LGBT. And then homelessness is a huge issue. And people don't really understand when I say homelessness and what that means.
Describe that, because sometimes, I think we're all kind of, I don't want to say guilty of this, but, we see people literally laying out on the streets. So, what do you do about that? Like, how do you help someone who's on the streets? Because I don't always know why they're there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'll never know. And sometimes, because of safety reasons, you don't want to really engage in that capacity. But you always want to lend yourself as a voice. The issue of homelessness is not one of I live on the streets. That's sometimes the extreme. Homelessness can be just simply I'm staying at my cousin's house this week, and then the next week I'm at my best friend's house, and then the week after this I'm at this person's house. That's homelessness. You don't have a stable residence. This is not yours. A lot of LGBT youth are couch surfing. And, it comes with not being able to find a job. It comes with mental health issues. A lot of people are living with bipolar disorder or other ailments that enable them to get a good job. Or they can't get whatever health issues or health and get medications to get whatever it is for them to be in a place of soundness or wholeness, to actually do what they need to do to survive and thrive. So a lot of folks when I've at Denham, I've had youth who thought that, I'm fine. I'm staying with my cousin and I'm here, and then I'm staying at my aunt's for another few weeks. I'm like, well, that's not stable. Let's figure out how to get you to a place of stability.
Gotcha.
And that's what's important. But I would say lend yourself to it. There's an organization here in D.C. that a lot of folks don't know about. It's called Wanda Austin, the Wanda Austin Foundation, which provides transitional housing for LGBT youth. And we visit there frequently. We go talk to some of the youth around what denim does, but also how do we make sure that you don't make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you have to come back here.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What tools can we provide? What resources can we provide to ensure that this is your last time in a situation like this? So I would say to folks out there, just become an advocate. You know, take some time to look at your friends. And a lot of times it is our friends who are, you know, just hopping around from house to house, place to place, and we don't necessarily think of it as homelessness, but it is.
Wow. I guess I never really looked at homelessness in that way. So let's talk about you for a second. What do you see next for yourself within the organization or outside? I mean, I know you have some plans that you can't really talk about. You know, we don't really like that. But, you know, what else do you have going on?
I think, you know, for right now, I'm really comfortable at Denim and being at the helm of Denim and doing the work that we're doing. I'm really comfortable with that. On a personal end, I'm gonna go back to school.
Yeah.
And go for my master's and maybe a doctorate. I'm not sure, but I want to teach.
Really?
I want to teach at the end of the
I think
day.
you'd be a good teacher. I think you'd be a good motivational speaker as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
You never thought about that?
No, I haven't.
Really?
No.
Oh,
Nah.
okay.
But that's what I want to do. I think teaching is really where I'm gonna make my biggest mark. You know.
What do you see next for the organization in general?
Wow. That's a tough question. That's a question that we're talking about in conference rooms right now, like just today. You know, the organization is a beautiful one. Right. You know, like I said, we're the only one doing this work here in DC. What I want for the organization is to really push more social justice issues. You know, for us to be, and you know, it takes someone like myself to really see the flaws, you know, and identify them and then, you know, make it known. You know, we do a lot of great work around HIV prevention. We do a lot of great work around making sure that individuals who are living with HIV can access health care and their medicines and things of that nature. But we could definitely do a better job at tackling social justice issues, you know.
Like what? Like, is there any particular one that you're looking at?
For me personally, you know, I see that this, you know, and I'm keep going back to the system, that, you know, there's my idea is to create a program. And I told you I'm not going to tell you this, but I'll give you a little bit. It's to create a program for the African American community that, in more of like a workshop kind of 3-day retreat type form, really explain to them that this system is flawed and that this system is set up for you to fail. Right. But if I told you that if I told you that that pan is hot and don't touch it because you're going to burn yourself, would it change if I gave you that information? If I told you that there's a reason that in your community the cops are patrolling at a rate that they're not doing in Bethesda, if I told you that there was a reason that the schools some schools have you getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, when we know, and science can tell you, that African Americans aren't really prone to getting up early in the morning. And this is just, you can check it. You know, there are certain things that people don't understand that is set up for us to fail. You know, the fact that every time there's a social justice problem in this country, that the lottery seems to go up. That's something that people don't really understand or see. There are a lot of things that go on in this country that put the African American community in a box. What I want to do is show them that, hey, this is what's going on. We can't change the system, but I can educate you so that you know how not to get caught up and get trapped in this system. And that's what I'm going to do.
Wow. And you know what? I have nothing else to say about that. I think you really just kind of wrapped us up. Thank you so much, Travis, for stopping by the show. I really, really appreciate it. And this has been another episode of Richie on the Rocks. Thanks for watching.